Hello and welcome back. I'm Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and it is vlog day today. So happy to see every single one of you. So I had a little bit of time off there for a minute. I just needed some time off. I hadn't seen my mom since last July, and they wanted to come visit, so that's what I did. We had a very nice visit. It was very nice to see my mom and my dad. So so I have my, where is it? Here it is. I have my cup from Friday. This is what we did on Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, I did have some of you guys say that you would like just one extra video to show a little bit more in detail. It was kind of hard to fit it. I felt like it was a long video already. And then I had to include like how to find the little glyphs and everything. So I did kind of jump through it. So I think that does need its own little video just to show that and to kind of go more detail for like PC, Mac, things of that nature. So, and to figure out if anybody who uses like an iPad or something, if they can do it that way as well. I'm not too sure. So I'll have to look into it and do up a little video, but I really, really like how that turned out. So cute. I've been wanting to do sea turtles for a while, and I wanted to do something beachy, but not like, you know, what we're used to seeing as far as the beach stuff goes. So I really like just that straight line of the water kind of floating over the top of the turtles. I think that really kind of added to it. So I got a lot, and I get this constantly, questions about epoxy. Causing dimples and fisheyes and stuff like that, and why is that happening? I get that question a lot. So these are things that I found over the years of making tumblers, since the thousands of tumblers that I've made. You know, when I first started, I used to have that issue all the time. I mean, it happened a lot. And these are just things that I have done to ensure that doesn't happen anymore. These are just trial and error things that I've learned over the years that I haven't had an issue since I started doing these things with fisheyes or anything like that, ever since I started doing this. Now, first and foremost, you know, I've pretty much only used Uline for a long time. And just recently I started using for like a quick set. I really like Mr. Nola's quick set. And I also just started using Flint Sister Shop epoxy as well. All beautiful epoxies that I haven't had any issues with. You know, I've only been using the FS epoxy for a short time, but every single time I've used it, flawless, beautiful. The speed dry epoxy, Mr. Nola's speed dry epoxy, you know, I haven't had any issues with, and Uline as well. Now, Uline was what I was using whenever all these issues would occur, but after I started doing these techniques, it didn't happen anymore. So obviously it was something on my end. But the reason why I bring that up is because if you try these techniques, because it might work for you, it might not work for you. But honestly, if you use these techniques, it still isn't working for you, you're still having these issues, you may want to reach out to whatever epoxy company that you use, just to make sure that the batch that you're using is okay, because it could be that as well. So, you know, most of the time it's user error, you know, it's user error for me, but it could, on a very slight chance, might be the epoxy. So that's why I said what I said earlier. So the main reason why you get dimples or fisheyes and all that in your epoxy is because the surface that you applied your epoxy to is too slick. There's nothing for that epoxy to grip onto to hold itself together as it cures. So what will happen is, since it can't bond properly together, it'll just kind of separate and make those fisheyes. So things like chunky metallic glitters, it'll do that too. Things like certain spray paints, it will do that too, which I didn't know that. I thought it would adhere to spray paints. Certain paints too, because I've painted metallic paints and stuff. It'll do that as well to it. So when you guys watch me do my tutorials, I pretty much I use this in between almost everything that I do. It doesn't even matter, because there are some glitters out there. I know when something's gonna wick away. Certain vinyls, especially like metallic or opal vinyls, anything shiny, slick and shiny, it's gonna wanna separate off of, you know, that's just how it is. So pretty much in between everything that I do, I'm spraying it down with this. It doesn't have to be a super thick coat. You do sometimes one coat, sometimes two, but this should be enough for that to help your epoxy be able to stick and bond better to each other. Another thing that could make your epoxy separate, let's say you did use a sealer and you put it on your turner and you still got separation. Let's say that happened. The only thing that I can think of when that happens is you applied too much heat to your epoxy. You know, we all like to think, you know, you just apply your heat, you know, you go to town, you see everybody with these big torches and you're like, okay, you use a heat gun, heat guns especially, those will really heat up that epoxy and make it separate very badly. Lots of bubbles, or not bubbles, but dents in your epoxy, which I learned the hard way as well when I first started. But heating it up too much will also cause this issue as well. So the main thing that I like to do is, if I'm using a regular set epoxy, I only do a couple rotations with my torch, and I use a small torch. I don't use a huge one. This has done me well over the years. This is what I use. If you use a heat gun, same concept. If you use a big blowtorch, same concept. You should only have to do a couple full rotations with it very quickly, not in one place. You know, you don't want to do it just in one place. You want to try to be moving it around so you don't scorch your epoxy or could catch it on fire, you know, depending. You don't want to do that. So just quick motions on it, couple rotations, let it go. So if you're using regular set epoxy, what I like to do is I'll do the couple rotations and then I'll come back in about 30, 40 minutes or so. I like to check on my tumblers, make sure everything's rotating properly, make sure there's no bulges anywhere. I'll come back and adjust anything if I need to after about 40 minutes. And I'll hit it up one more time with my torch. And I don't think I've ever mentioned that, but I do. I hit it up one more time, just again, couple rotations, quick movements with my torch back and forth. And that should really help out with not overheating it. Now, let's say you're using your quick set epoxy. The same concept kind of goes, except I don't wait 40 minutes because especially the stuff that I use, it's pretty much set up in about 20, 30 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll hit it with my torch. I'll wait 5, 10 minutes, go back and do it again, give it a good once over, look at it, make sure everything's okay, and leave it be, let it finish curing. The one last thing that I can think of off the top of my head right at this minute, too thin of a coat of epoxy. I know you guys know that I do work in smaller increments of epoxy when applying it to my tumbler. The reason why I do that is for micro bubbles. It's just for the evenness across my tumbler. You're less prone to get bulges at the bottom or at the top because as it's turning, it all wants to go each way. You know what I mean? That centrifugal force wants to push it. But there's a fine line between too thin and just the right amount. So, I mean, if you're like having to really rub it over it, there's a chance that it could want to separate off of your glitter or your paints or whatever it could be. So I pretty much work in about 20 to 30 milliliters each time I epoxy my tumblers. It's 20 to 30, depending on the size, is what I use to apply to my tumbler. So I don't really go over that. I'm just saying, I find that if you go over that, there's more room for it making those bulges. But I found that 20 to 30 is pretty much the sweet spot for me when it comes to the thickness of the epoxy each round. So it's not too thin and it's not too thick. And again, if it's way too thin, it could cause those fisheyes for you. And of course, environment could play a role in that as well. You know, you want to make sure that your room, there's not too much breeze happening. You want to make sure it's properly heated, because mostly all epoxies really need that heat to work properly. The rooms need to be, you know, between 70 and 80 degrees to work properly. You need to make sure that it's not too humid. It's, you know, stuff like that. So there's those kind of factors as well. Now I live somewhere where it's very humid all year. It doesn't matter. And I have to say, I've never had issues with humidity, and I'm out here in a garage. So, and I do have my door open quite often, and I haven't had issues with humidity. So I'm just saying. But those are things that you could take into effect as well, that you might be causing you troubles for your tumbler. So it could be the material. I'll go over it one more time. It could be the materials you're using. Metallic chunkies especially like to wick that epoxy away. So materials including anything like metallic vinyls, opal vinyls, anything slick, anything that just doesn't have a porous surface to it. Paints, certain paints can do that as well, glossy paints, things like that. Too much heat applied to your tumbler will make your epoxy wick off of itself and not be able to hold that bond properly. And of course, your atmosphere could play a role into that as well, or a thin or too thin of a coat. So those 4 things could possibly do that. So if you just keep that in mind, I can't stress this enough. In between your layers, okay? When in doubt, use your your clear spray. I can't stress this enough. Trust me. I learned the hard way. I'm trying to think back to where I first heard this from. I'm pretty sure it was in Minderella's Tumblr group there on Facebook. Somebody mentioned this and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna give this a try, years ago when we're all trying to figure this out, because there wasn't really any stuff out there explaining anything to anybody, so we're all just kind of brainstorming what's going on. But this has saved me all those years, and I haven't had an issue since. In between every coat, when in doubt, give it a spritz. All right. Okay, anyways, I hope that helped you guys. Hopefully. All right, that's what I'm here for. So today I wanted to try something a little different, something I've never done before. It's not a tumbler. I know. All right, don't go anywhere. Stay with me, okay? Let's go on this journey together, all right? I'm really into, we do tie-dye all the time as a family. We do lots of tie-dye. So we did this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We did a bunch of tie-dye together. But it just fascinates me, the different things that you can do to shirts. It's another extension of art, We do our artwork on our tumblers and artwork on our shirts and stuff. So I was very curious about bleaching shirts, and I really want to give that a try. Maybe press my own shirt. I don't know. We'll see where that takes me. I don't know. Of course, tumblers are always going to be number one. And I don't think I would do any type of business work with t-shirts. This is just for me, for my own fun, doing shirts for the kids and stuff. So, so we'll see where that takes us. I'm curious. So we're going to be bleaching some shirts today, maybe pressing some stuff onto them, and we'll see. All right, so I showed you guys my drink. I got my drink. This has been pretty popular again, this design. So I'm really glad that you guys have been enjoying that since last year. When did I do it? It was last year. Anyways, it's a year old. But I got my drink and I'm ready to wake up, prep these tumblers and shirts, and slay all day. Let's do this. All right, first off, this is my cat Clementine. Isn't she pretty? She's a little torty cat there. Her little calico spots and all that. She's so pretty. But anyways, my oldest daughter, Sadie, wanted a shirt to look like Clementine. Okay, so that's where we're going. She's my inspiration right here. So I went to Michael's. I bought a black shirt. I have some bleach that I bought at the dollar store along with a condiment bottle. I'm like, easy peasy. You know what I mean? This can be so easy. But for anybody who does shirts out there, I'm going to show you what I used, and then you're going to know right away what's going to happen. I use this Bella canvas here. I think I was trying to show you guys what the material is, and I'm like, it's going to work out great. No problems at all. So I lay my shirt out, I'm going to do this little scrunchy method I seen. I thought it was really cute, and I thought it would really kind of look like Clementine. I did dampen this shirt. Also, want to let you guys know, you can do it damp or you can do it dry. It does make a different effect either way. When it's damp, it's more like fluid looking, the edges aren't as sharp. And when it's just dry, whenever you do this dry, the edges are going to be more sharp, straight. So anyways, I got my bleach. Now, some people do use 50% water, 50% bleach. I'm just using straight up bleach. If I was doing bigger, bulkier stuff, I think I would kind of maybe tone it back so that way I didn't accidentally overexpose stuff. I don't know. Anyways, so I sprayed it I drenched it pretty good on the bottom there. I'm going to flip it, kind of do the same thing on the back, and then I'm going to start laying it out in the sun to develop. The reason why people like to do it like out in the sun. I think it's more for the heat. So like it was too cold, you know, you could do something like this with like a heat lamp or something. That's what I've seen some shirt ladies do, but I'm very lucky that I could come outside and kind of do this here. So I'm just going to drench this up really good with the bleach. And this part here, I'm trying to get it white. Okay, this is where I'm trying to get it white. Okay. And like Clementine, her belly is white, so I'm pretty much really wanted that bottom portion to really be white with like maybe speckles of that white up into the rest of it. But, you know, so we're going to sit and let it develop and we'll see how it goes. Now, typically, you're not going to see this on screen, but I have a bucket off to the side to neutralize my bleach after it's all said and done. It is peroxide and water, so that will help make sure that this bleach doesn't eat away at our t-shirt. So at first I'm like, okay, cool, look, it's turning out all right, you know, and then I noticed as it got going, it wasn't turning white. It was just staying a heather gray color rather than turning the white that I wanted it to. And then up in the middle of the rest of it, it got that cool brown spots, kind of like the rest of her fur, but it definitely wasn't looking like how I wanted to. And I am pretty certain that it's the material that I'm using. I'm pretty certain it's the fabric. So I'm going to have to maybe purchase a different shirt. See here, I was trying to save it, so I just want to do a couple sprinkles at the top to give it a little bit more brown because I thought maybe, you know, it'd still be good to wear. So all I did was just scrunch up the top and kind of do the same thing. I'm going to drizzle a little bit more of this bleach on there, kind of do it on the back as well, and then let it develop and see how that looks. But like I said, I was a bit disappointed. I was so excited for this because I knew Sadie would absolutely love that shirt. And, you know, it is what it is. I guess I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what black shirts go best with trying to get them pure white, you know, rather than heather gray. So here I'm going to go ahead and kind of wash it off just a little bit before I stick it over into my bucket. And then I decided to go ahead and do up another shirt as well. Now these do need to be washed afterwards as well, so after you get all that bleach out of it, they need a good washing. So that one's already in the washing machine. This one's the same exact kind of fabric. It's like that soft Bella canvas stuff that you can get. I'm going to do the same exact thing, scrunching it up. Now this is not damp, this is dry, so it's going to have more of that sharper look to it. So again, I'm just taking my bleach and I'm going to drizzle that over it while it's all scrunched up and just kind of zhuzh it around with my hands a bit. And then of course I'm going to bring it out and lay it flat so that way it can develop in the sunlight. But this color was so pretty after it gets all said and done here, and this worked much better for me. I don't know what I did with that black one. I don't know if you're a t-shirt maker, you know, maybe you could give me some hints if you want to. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'll try to figure it out. I don't know. But I really love how this kind of purple color turned out in the end. It's almost like a part between pink and purple, which, you know, I love. So now after it developed for a little bit, I wanted to come through and add just some sprinkling of the bleach to kind of give it a little bit more of texture to it. So, and I'm not letting these drizzles sit for very long. I literally let them sit probably for about a minute after I get them drizzled on, and then I'll flip it and do the same thing on the opposite side. And it actually gives this really cool effect. Some of them are pink, like a hot pink. Some of them are a very light pink. Some of them are kind of more of a purpley color. So it really gave a lot more texture to the shirt. So again, after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of rinse it off a little bit and of course stick it in my bucket to neutralize it with the water and peroxide and then give it a really good wash. And then I decided I want to add like a vinyl quote to it. You know, I wanted to put something on it, of course. So I'm going to go over this just briefly for anybody who has never done shirts before. This is vinyl for, you know, heat press vinyl for doing shirts and everything. And it's different than regular vinyl that you're used to. There's no stickiness to this vinyl at all. If you guys want me to go into a little bit more detail on how to properly do all this, I can. You just got to make sure that you do it in reverse. Yeah. You make sure whenever you cut it, you reverse the image so that way when you press it, it comes out fine. Just like sublimating tumblers and stuff, you gotta, you know, sometimes you gotta make sure you do that as well. But I found this quote right off my Cricut Design Space. It's "You got this," and I figured since it's just for me, I'm gonna go ahead and use this, you know. But so you want to leave it on its clear backing. That's pretty much its transfer tape when you go to lay it onto your shirt, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. But yeah, this vinyl has no sticky backing to it at all, which made it a little bit more difficult to weed because I'm so used to sticking the sticky vinyl onto my fingers as I go. and I couldn't do that with this, so I had to keep stopping and pulling it off and all that. Jeff's helping me out with it too, so he's gonna go ahead and get that heated up for me. And I believe he heated up to 315. I can't read it. I can't remember what he said. I should go ask him. And that for 15 seconds. So again, if you guys want me to go into a little bit more detail with this particular shirt press, I can. I'll put something very similar to it, because this is a very old one of it, but I'll put the newer one of this particular heat press down into the description box for you guys so you can check it out. But yeah, I don't think they sell this particular one anymore. Now here, after I got heated up, now I have to stick it up onto the board here and try to figure out where to place my stuff. I don't have all the little fancy tools to figure out the center of your shirt and all that. So I know it's like 4 fingers down you want to go to have your decal. That's all I know from the collar, about 4 fingers down. And then I'm just going to use the tag up at, you know, inside the shirt there as my center point for it. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to kind of get it as even as I possibly can on my board here, and then go ahead and get my decal put onto my shirt. So I had to have Jeff put his fingers there. So there's his hand. There, see, look at us. We know what we're doing. Again, this is what vlogs are all about. We're just kind of winging this together. So the backing, this clear backing that goes with the vinyl, is sticky, so it's going to kind of stick to your shirt, so that way you can kind of press it down. And then this particular heat press that I have, it came with this paper, the special paper that I could put down over top of the vinyl before I press it, so that way I don't scorch anything. But I don't know if I needed to do that. I don't know if this clear stuff is already capable of that without doing this. So again, I'm just gonna kind of go with what I have on hand here. I don't know what kind of paper this is. I don't know if that came with our the gentleman who had it before me, because you know, this is used. I only do new crafting stuff if I can get it super cheap and used, you know. It's pretty close to like doing tumblers. You put that lever down, it's gonna smush it against the board, heat it up really good. And then I do believe there's a difference. Some of them need to be cold peeled, so it has to be completely cold before you, or you know, not so hot before you peel it, and some need to be hot before you peel it. So this, it needs to be warm still before you peel it. So I'm just kind of cooling it down ever so slightly, and then I'm going to go ahead and peel away that transfer tape. And I gotta tell you guys, I really surprised myself. I really like how this turned out. I was a bit nervous that it wasn't completely centered, but you know, after I put it on, it looks fine to me. Looks pretty centered. So I made a pretty nifty little shirt for myself. Well, I am so happy with how this turned out. That was a lot of fun. I'm not even gonna lie, that was a lot of fun. I absolutely enjoyed making this. I love so much how that there's little spots. So these were just a little bit lighter. These ones turned just kind of like a pink, so I just did real quick. Let them sit just for a minute, just to add a little bit more texture to the colors and all that. But this was really fun. I could see myself doing this more for myself and for the kids and all that. So that's definitely a lot of fun to do. If you're into this kind of look, that is. Well, I moved on to, it's still the same cup, but I moved on to my afternoon drink, but you know. I am so close to 50,000 subscribers, and that's just really nuts to me. It's exciting, but crazy, and I don't, you know, I don't really promote myself, kind of like here and there, but I'm happy with the growth that I've made. 50,000 subscribers is definitely a lot more than I thought I would ever have. So I am just very excited. Maybe, hopefully, in the next couple weeks, I'll hit that goal. Also, I think next Sunday, I ran out of my old UV resin. You know, I'm talking about the UV resin that you buy off Amazon. It would cure okay. It was all right. But I finally ran out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy some good resin. So I bought... What did I buy? I'm trying out resin rockers, and I have to say, I really like them so far. So I'm gonna go over some stuff with you guys next weekend about this epoxy that I purchased. Not epoxy, UV resin. UV resin. But they had like this kit that you could buy for plugs for snow gloves. I'm jumping the gun. Anyways, it's really cute. Works really well. Works a lot better than my old UV resin. Okay, we'll talk about it next Sunday. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for me today. I missed you guys. I'll see you guys next Sunday. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.